Welcome to the Upshot, Multi-World Disc Golf's podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I'm the editor, Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me, Josh Mansfield, on this Thursday, July 11th. We are 1 week away from the European Open, Josh. I am pumped. I have to say, Champions Cup, first major, it wasn't the same. I don't know, the combination of having the course be different and the time of year wasn't quite the best. Peoria, it's I don't know. This feels like the first big major. Everyone, it matters. I don't want to downplay Champions Cup too much. It didn't have the same bite this year for me because it wasn't at W.R. Jackson.
Sure. I think it also comes into play when, and this is no knock to Andrew Presnell because he's a great guy, but he's also not the fan favorite, right? It's not Ricky or Paul battling out. It's not Calvin and AB. The drama wasn't quite to the same level. And so I think that's another thing that contributes to that. We're coming into a tournament that was the single most memorable tournament of all of last season. And the player who made it such for all the wrong reasons is coming in with 4 wins and a completely remade man. How can you not be excited?
I'm so excited. So excited. We've got a lot to do today. First up, Jussi Meresmaa, the event director for the European Open, joins us for a wide-ranging interview about everything going on this year, ticket sales, obviously hole 16. We're going to ask about that, what's going on, his decision to sell Discmania, and lots more. So we're going to get to that right now. After that, we'll get you ready for the Krokhol Open. Kristen Tatar coming back after a 10-week hiatus. Stay with us. It's the Upshot. The Upshot is presented by Pound Disc Golf, makers of the best bags in the sport. I mentioned last week they got some sweet new colorways in the double convertible Rufus, Coyote and Brown Bear, Clay and Sage. They look fantastic. Great way to get the smaller footprint of the Rufus with a little bit of extra space using that double convertible ability to add some space on the sides. They've also got a unique patchwork Octahall in red, white, and blue. Perfect for July. And it's made using leftover scrap fabric, which you just love to see that from Pound. Not wasting material. They also make some zippered pouches in black and turquoise and black and pink that you could throw in your bag to store whatever, snacks, pencils and scorecards, whatever you're feeling. That's also made using excess scrap fabric. Go to pounddiscgolf.com to check out all of the options. Joining us now on the Upshot is the European Open event director, Jussi Meresmaa. Jussi, welcome back to the program.
Charlie, Charles, always a pleasure.
It is indeed. We're glad to have you. We are 1 week away from the start of the European Open here on this Thursday. And obviously super exciting this year, not only because we're all itching for a major, but because this is going to be a preview of the layouts and the courses that we will see at the 2025 World Championships next year in Europe for the first time. I think maybe that's where I want to start. How much do you look at this event as a warm-up versus it being just kind of the European Open typical event?
I would say this is almost like 100% warm-up. So what comes to the courses, I think our goal is to have these courses set up like they would be played at the Worlds, which would help, obviously, also players to get known to these layouts and also for us to make the necessary tweaks and changes if they come. And as an other organizational perspective, this has been the heaviest lift in my career, building this event up because of 2 sides. We want to both them to be like a major qualified courses, and of course the infrastructures are much bigger, almost doubled. So it's going to be pretty wild week still to the event, and we've been working for multiple weeks, but I'm pretty confident that we're able to pull it off.
Well, as you're prepping for the courses, there's one announcement that came out this week that I think we probably need to jump right into. That's the change to hole 16 at the Beast. Do you want to talk about what motivated that, the rationale? I'd love to hear your thoughts before we go more into that.
Yeah, I was pretty sure that we're going to discuss about this said hole. Hole 16, I want to start from the history of the hole because not many people actually, I don't know if this is ever documented, but it was back in 2009 when we, actually 2011 when we moved into the Nokia. I mean, the first year anyway here, we were kind of tinkering with the layouts, and everybody who knows are familiar with our last 4 holes. So my goal was to kind of build something spectacular on the last decision-making holes for the major event. And people who know this area, there are kind of it's almost like that hole 17 has to be there because it's laid out. And then you go to hole 18. So they are the last pair. And then, of course, you have this nice downhill shot from hole 15. So we actually had a pretty big challenge to find a hole between 15 and 17 because we only had this pretty vast open area, and kind of trying to create something in that area that is also major worthy and building the excitement. We came up to this kind of an unusual solution of an island hole par 4, because typically island holes are one-shot holes that are par 3s, little shorter side, like USDGC 17, but we wanted to use the space and kind of have the flow better all the way up in the hole 17. So we created this double shot island hole, and I think that I'm not completely sure, but the reason why we actually went for the bunker hazard was, at the time, obviously that was a known opportunity for course layout and hole design. And also we felt that because it's full of OB, so if we're playing that as a normal OB rule, it's going to be difficult to kind of adjust where it went out, and it's always like a speculation. So we created this bunker hazard island hole, and we stuck with it for over 10 years. I think that pre-pandemic we already had discussions with the PDGA that they were not favoring the rule because of it's not like a standard OB rule that is in play. And I think that this now was the 4th year they kind of asked us to make a change, because what I understood from their email back in the last month was that this is pretty much the last bunker hazard rule they ever have waived. So there should be no other bunker hazard rules anywhere. And that kind of created also some challenges for the PDGA office, because there are thousands of PDGA events all around the world. And of course, these creative TDs wants to have bunker hazards here and bunker hazards there and triple mandos and stuff like that. And whenever they sent the waivers into the PDGA, they kind of referred, okay, well, European Open is also using this, and kind of it's kind of difficult to say yes to one side and no to all the others. So they came pretty firm this year to say that, hey, we want this rule to change. And of course, we have been having a big debates internally on that too. So it's not a one-person decision that we made the change. It's kind of a unified decision that, okay, we are going to change it now, and we're going to play it with the drop zones, and obviously we're going to listen to feedback. So European Open is also known for we are taking feedback always after the tournament from the players, spectators, and staff members, and they always are free to give us what did they like and what didn't like. So we are here now, so we're going to play it with the double drop zone manner, which is definitely going to eliminate probably the higher end scores. But also one thing that is good to know is that because we are bringing in the Tampere course, this hole actually was cut in half anyway. So we're going to play here 2 rounds instead of 4 rounds, and we're going to change the ruling also. So it's quite a big change, no question about that. But it will be interesting to kind of know how this will play.
If the PDGA hadn't been leaning on you to change this, would you have changed it?
I mean, I created that hole, and I think that one thing, what I like about the hole is that you always have an option to lay up. And I mean, like I listen to your podcast, as you know, so you were on track, on point in a way that was probably one of the most discussed event or one hole last year. And that is going to change now. Obviously, it doesn't mean that there will be a big swing there again, because you can take a double bogey there, and you can obviously take a birdie there. So that's a 3-stroke swing. I always like the mental side of disc golf in a way that, okay, you have an option, but I understand also that especially PDGA didn't want that one hole could blow up anybody's game like that. So it's hard to say. I mean, I'm not like I mean, PDGA owns this tournament. This is a PDGA major. So, of course, I want to accommodate especially their wish and their ideology of the rules, because they enforce the rules and they make the rules. So, personally, I said that it was an interesting run, 12, 13 years, and we're going to try something else this year. Also, as a marketer, I think that this has been the best marketing campaign so far for our tournament. So more people are tuning in at the moment. So it's not a bad idea, but I need to say my opinion after the event.
Charlie, if I can add one follow-up real quick. One thing that we had discussed is, if you listen to the pod, the USDGC uses a deviation from standard rules on hole 17, but in order to do so, they play as an X-tier major. Was there any discussion or consideration of moving the European Open to an X-tier in order to continue to accommodate the bunker rule, and then perhaps expand what else you could do with the tournament?
Yeah, I mean, we had option to continue, but we would obviously have a similar treatment with no ratings and stuff like that. So I think that this was kind of I wanted to accommodate the PDGA on this matter. And of course, I'm interested to see how this plays. And like I said, I'm happy to make my mind after this event.
I just have to say, I just want to say it. The PDGA complaining that B-tier TD says, oh, I want a bunker rule. And look, the European Open has a bunker rule. It is not hard for the PDGA to say, well, sorry, they're the European Open. It's a special case. They're a major. Shut up. I just feel like the change, unfortunately, makes the hole less interesting and doesn't do much to improve the quality of the hole or the tournament or anything. It's just feels like an arbitrary change because this is how it is now. And I mean, I guess I too will reserve judgment until after the tournament. It will still be a swing hole, maybe just not as much, but there's something really cool about having to make the island that is now being eliminated from the hole. And if the reason is simply, well, this is how it has to be, that is such a weak reason from the PDGA, I have to say. That's not a question, so we can just move on. All right. So, Tampere. Let's talk about Tampere. How much is being changed in this course layout compared to what we've seen in the past? That's been one of the things that I've been most interested in. Josh and I both took the time to go and watch a lot of last year's coverage and kind of see the layout of the course, and it's beautiful. There's some amazing holes. Some of the water holes are really fantastic. We both got the sense that it was a fairly attackable layout. Some folks from Europe in our Discord have pushed back and said, no, you have it all wrong. It's really, really hard. So I wanted to get your thoughts on how you think the course has played in the past and if you've made changes and what those changes are.
Sure. Tampere Disc Golf Center is, I actually had PDJ Faults coming in today here, and I was kind of introducing the site to them. And it's pretty much an idea started 10 years ago. And the idea was to create something that it's a major caliber facility that obviously also houses a shorter version or shorter layout. So normally there is a 27 hole layout, which we will now extend to 18 major holes. And the good thing is that for the local people, especially, is that you can play the major layout today and in 2 weeks. It's basically part of the course. But of course, when the course is crowded, it's hard to combine and play those holes. But it's there, and it hasn't changed much. The only biggest change that you will see or probably notice is that we have spent, and City of Tampere have spent, a lot of time and resources to spice it up and clean it up and make it more beautiful. I think that almost every green or hole has a manicured or leveled or somewhat of manipulated green areas. So it's pretty interesting. And I've been there most of my time because the Nokia course is kind of already here. So I'm very proud what we have been able to build and set up for this event. What comes to difficulty, you can definitely attack on this course, but it will definitely bite you back. So you can't really, you need to, first of all, you need to know where to land. And there's a lot of kind of a semi to mostly blind shot landing wise. So you really need to know where the disc is going and what kind of a line you're throwing. My estimation is that the par would give 1,020 rated round. So that means that the par is a world-class player, and which is probably 30 points more than Nokia course. So that should give you an understanding that it is a very demanding course. It's also 500 meters longer than the Nokia course. So, and it's also much more wooded mostly. So it's almost, I would say it here, I would be surprised if somebody plays bogey-free 2 rounds there. So you're going to take those bogeys here and there. There is no question about it. And it's going to bite you back. That's what I'm thinking.
I pulled up the Prodigy Disc Golf Pro Tour event from 2023. This is the one that Charlie and I watched in order to get a sense of the course. And it looks like the hot round was 8 under par in round 2. What do you expect the hot round to be, or even if you'd like to speculate, kind of the combo of like after those 2 rounds, where do you think the leaders will be sitting in both divisions?
I need to admit I'm not familiar of that layout. What did they play? I wasn't paying that much attention.
Okay.
But I would say 8 under is going to be, you're gonna place on the lead card if you shoot 8 under first round. That's a lead card result. I know that there was one Finnish player who shot 8 under on a practice round this week. I'm not going to name who he was, but there was one guy. I think 10 under is going to push the limit. So if somebody throws 10 under on that, that's probably going to be the course record for a while.
How do you feel like the tournament will play differently now that we're starting with 2 at Tampere and then 2 at the Beast? It's we've been at the Beast for a while, so it's kind of an interesting thing to think about. Like, does this give a new hope to certain types of players who excel on more woodsy courses, perhaps?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, first of all, that 2 rounds at Tampere is definitely an advantage. Finns and some European players who have been playing that course multiple times. It's going to be a rough time for many top level players if they haven't been prepared enough and they're going to go there. And I mean, I can't imagine playing that blind. Like Calvin played one course this year. That would be brutal. I say that we will probably see a little bit different leaderboard coming to the weekend at Nokia. And I'm expecting that and hoping that we would get at least 2 to 3 players, even 4 players in top 10 from Finland.
It also looks like, so if you think that the top scores are 10 under par, and that's really pushing the limit. Lead card is 8. At the Beast, we see scores closer to 11 under par, usually 10 to 11. So it almost feels like, Anthony Barella shot a 12 last year, as did Calvin. So it feels like it might be the case that Tampere is more of don't lose here. You need to stay in the mix through 2 rounds at Tampere, and then you need to go win at Nokia. Is that a correct kind of assumption or feeling?
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. Of course, in any tournament, you can't win on the first round. You can definitely lose. I mean, it's kind of interesting that knowing the history of Nokia, which I consider a Nokia course attackable. It's not too long. It's quite open. If you have your lines, it's not much windy. You should be doing well there. But the fact is that no one has ever shot more than 12 down, better than 12 down. It's kind of a testament for the mental abilities that requires to shoot well at Nokia. I'm expecting Tampere course to be like 3 to 4 shots harder in average. But also the worst round or the bad round in Tampere is going to definitely be worse than in Nokia. So if you shoot badly in Nokia, you can still be like 3-4 down and you feel, bad for your round. But if you bring that game to Tampere Disc Golf Center, you're playing over par.
Right. Are there notable changes besides the 16th to the Beast this year?
Not many. I mean, that is definitely the biggest one. We have 2 new greens on the Arboretum area, so holes 5 and 7 are a little bit extended greens, not much, like 10, 15 feet longer, not much. Everything else is pretty identical. One of the changes that players will see is hole 11, which is the small pond hole, which is typically like a hyzer through the trees. If you have your line right, there is no tree now in a way. So we took 1 tree out. So you can basically go over the pond and land safely to the green. Obviously, that window is not too big, but it's there because when we originally, like I was explaining about the hole 16, originally when we designed that hole, all those trees were tiny compared to what they are now 10, 12, 13 years later. So we made a decision to take that 1 tree out on hole 11. And according to the feedback, the 11 has been always kind of the worst hole for the players because they don't like to throw and wish. Now they have more kind of an open gap there. But that's pretty much, all the changes. So 16 definitely the biggest.
One of the biggest changes that would be coming isn't actually on the golf side, but on the spectator side. Tampere is going to require tickets in order to spectate, both on Thursday and Friday, as well as at the Beast, you're going to have a ticket in order to VIP ticket in order to see the wooded holes, while the rest of the Beast, as has traditionally been in the past, will still be free. What have your ticket sales been like to this point? What is your spectator management like going to be, do you think? Is Tampere one that's going to be much easier to control spectators? I'd love to just kind of hear all the ins and outs of this pretty drastic change to previous years.
Yes. Ticket sales, let's start there. We're going to have 400 to 500 paid spectators Thursday, Friday. So definitely less than typical first and second round at the Beast because of we have a pay to enter. That is also, it's not kind of the bad thing for us because we really want to take the spectator experience, player safety, everything seriously on that course. I was there this morning with our crowd control team and we went through all the ins and outs, what's going to happen with the spectators. So like you said, Josh, we have two level of tickets. Those are the general admission, which is about $20, 17 euros. You get to inside the area, and most of the holes you can watch on the general admission areas. When you have a VIP pass that are still available for Tampere, Nokia is sold out. You can actually go inside the ropes behind the players, and you can follow the whole round, including every hole. So that is a very good experience for that. So we're expecting, like I said, 4,500 each day there. And obviously, Nokia being mainly free, we are expecting, of course, thousands of people again. And the reason why we have these holes 4 and 8 as a paid to enter is just this safety issue, because that is a very wooded area, very congested area. So we want to control that there was not too many people there, because we were already on the limit last 2 times. So, and it's of course not a very, I would say it's not the best place to follow disc golf there in the woods on the side. So it's kind of a win-win if we can control that a little bit better. But yeah, I'm just going to say that if you want to see world-class disc golf free, Nokia is place to be still. There is most of the holes, excluding these 4 to 8, are free to watch. And then, of course, we are building more VIP areas on hole 18. We actually secured Air Baltic, which is a pretty big airline here in Europe, and we're building a separate Air Baltic VIP lounge for VIP guests on 18. And as of today, I think we have over 800 VIP tickets registered. So we're doing good.
Wow. The VIP lounge, I'm trying to imagine where it will be. Is it going to be up on that, like where the bridge was last year, up and over the green, or do you have it somewhere else?
It's actually where the booth was for the DGN last year, the top corner 18, and we're moving the DGN booth a little bit lower on that hole. So actually it's going to create like a even bigger stadium feeling on when you come up on the 18. It's almost like I think it's a waste management open in golf when you have this one hole that is surrounded of buildings, because we're also adding one more VIP platform on the left side. So the last, the uphill and to the green is now pretty fully decorated on spectator areas, VIP lounges, everything.
What's available in the Air Baltic VIP lounge?
Well, it's just an additional viewpoint. You get the unrestricted view right to the the last green. Of course, it's a great place to hang. There is of course live broadcast on TVs, and of course refreshment drinks. So that's kind of the first step. This is also something that I want to basically develop until the next year Worlds, so we can make it better and bigger.
How are you feeling about overall expectations for spectators this year? Obviously, we've seen a little bit of a pullback here in the States, and I'm assuming we're seeing the same thing in Europe in terms of just generally sales down across the board. And do you feel like that's going to transfer over onto the spectator side? Crowds have been mixed here in the U.S., but generally I would say they've been down if we had to kind of take it overall this year.
Yeah, I would say 22, when we had Eagle and Paul battling out. I think that was the biggest by spectators. I think last year was a little bit less, but not that much. And I think that European Open is kind of a special case on this calendar. I mean, just to give you an example, we have volunteers registered from New Zealand to Peru. So people are coming all over the world to volunteer this event. People are coming all over the world to spectate this event. So I think that I agree you, Charlie, that there are less spectators overall, but I think that the bigger events are still holding pretty strong. So my expectations are pretty much the same that we had last year. And of course, now when we have a different thing at Tampere, we're going to have less people there. But of course, that's already kind of we knew that already. So I'm not expecting anything special there. But yeah, we're again expecting 3,000 to 5,000 people come Sunday.
We've also seen in that same vein, With the ticket sales being down, we've seen a couple tournaments have actually regressed in purses, those that have pushed up against kind of the upper limits of what our purses were last year. Portland Open, for example, the Des Moines Challenge, both dropped a couple percentage points in their purse. What are you guys expecting for payouts relative? And is this something that's going to be going up still, or are you also feeling that contraction?
We're gonna pretty much give out the same amount than last year. Obviously, give or take the exchange rate. I think we're giving out 95,000 euros, whatever it's in dollars, 100 plus. But I'm not really pushing the purse up because also our expenses has blown up. I mean, two event sites. Just to give you an example, that just to have a security is about $20,000 on the event, and there is so many costs that you can put money, and you need to put money because everything is growing and everything is building up. So we still want to hold that $100,000 ish purse, but we're not kind of trying to push it up because we, of course, my main goal is to secure the best possible experience for everybody, not just the higher purse, the better.
Is your sponsorship going strong as well?
It is going okay. It could be better, but it's pretty much of course the resource thing. So we're still on a limited on the organizer side. So even I've been able to put more time and effort to these events. And these events, I mean that since we got the World Championships bid approved late last year, we have been building that event. So it's kind of there has been days and weeks in my schedule this summer that I've been working more for the World Championships than this event, because obviously we're still a small sport, and it's relatively hard to explain a potential partner or sponsor that what is the European Open. It's hard to grasp the level and status, but when you talk about we are going to have a World Championships, every person knows what it's about. I mean, we don't need to debate, is it a big event or no, or is this a meaningful or not? It is. So World Championships is going to change a lot of things on the partnership side. But since we have been building these two things almost like on top of each other, of course, we are trying to save the best ammo next year. But we're okay with the partnership sales a little bit more than last year. But also, like I said, the expenses are kind of raking up because we really want to simulate this event as well as we can, like the upcoming Worlds. Of course, my wish is, of course, that we can make more bells and whistles come next year, but that will be, of course, seen.
So I wanted to check in with you about this because you bid for this year's Worlds and you didn't get the bid. It's in Virginia. And what I heard is a part of the sticking point was that you wanted to control the media rights to the event, which makes sense given that those are worth a lot of money and probably the value of media rights going up every year. What was in your pitch for 2025? Did you yield on that point? And how does that work at this, let's snapshot for your event? Are you seeing any of the revenue from the DGN side of the universe, all these people who are paying to watch the tournament? Is any of that flowing into your event budget, or is that completely separate from what you're doing and you have to make the dollars and cents work exclusively with sponsorships and ticket sales?
And you mean the Worlds, right?
I mean the Worlds.
Yeah. So yes, I mean, I don't think there has ever been like an official reason why somebody is not getting the tournament and somebody is.
Sure.
I think that is undisclosed. But yes, I mean, my point of view in this thing is that especially at the World Championships, almost regardless of the sport, but let's say disc golf. Let's talk about disc golf. I think the biggest media rights value is at the Worlds. So whoever owns the Worlds has the best rights value. And in this case, obviously, that's the PDGA. And PDGA has a 5-year agreement with the DGN, started 3 years ago or something like that, that they will take care of the, broadcasting the World Championships. So we are kind of, as an organizer, or even whoever is running it in next year or after us, they are not part of that agreement. So obviously that is kind of the big discussion point. So that's right. I kind of eased up my, let's say, demands for 2025 because I really want to make this happen. This has been almost my career-long goal to make a European World Championships happen. And also, I had a deadline because you know that the Nokia and Tampere courses are going through some changes, potentially so big that we are not able to run tournaments after 2025. So this was kind of my last window to make things happen. And I, of course, wanted to accommodate that window.
So you mentioned the changes that are coming that I know we've talked about a little bit for Nokia and Tampere after 2025. What are your plans? What are you foreseeing as kind of the path forward for what is arguably one of the most, I mean, it's a major, it's one of the most important tournaments that we play all year. What's that path forward after 2025?
So it's very difficult to think about, what's happening after 2025 Worlds. I haven't really paid much at all time of that. But yeah, we do have one more year in our PDGA major contract. So obviously filling that would be obviously a good start. I know for the fact that after the Worlds, Nokia City will start building the swimming hall between the hole 1 and 2. So I'm expecting that this area is not in place come 2026. Tampere Disc Golf Center is there going to be the tramway construction. I don't think that's going to start before the end of this decade. So we have a very good opportunity to go, fully Tampere 2026. But I haven't really put much attention for that. What is the longer view? I hope that after the swimming hall construction, we can still play here. Obviously, we will have some changes. I have already designed hole 1 differently. And I think it's going to be better hole 1. But also, we will lose hole 18's green because they need more parking spaces. So basically, we're going to lose the top end of hole 18, which is the biggest miss, in my opinion. So we need to redesign that. But other than those two changes, hole 1, which should be better, and missing hole 18's green, we should be able to have another European Open come 2027 and beyond.
It's going to be really interesting. I mean, it feels like a lot of these European courses have been challenged by landscape changes or, potential takeovers of land. And what's interesting is that, I feel like in the United States, we're still kind of looking to build out these really spectacular properties. We have a couple, right? You have your Maple Hill. There's a couple around the country, but you look at Europe and I feel like I know more like name brand courses in Europe than I do in the US. And do you feel like there's a concern long term, despite all of the explosive growth we've seen in Europe, that we're going to lose some of these courses to the city deciding they want to do something else with the space?
Yeah, especially Nokia and Tampere are very close to the city centers. So that is always in danger because we are not, the most valuable thing that city can use the land by far. I think the good news are that city, especially the Tampere Disc Golf Center, there has been already a decision made that the golf course that is right next to us will eventually move. And that means that city has already made, for example, a decision that the disc golf course will not move. It will be changed a little bit. So we're definitely going to keep most of our area, and we can, of course, potentially have more areas on that. So that will be okay. But of course, the problem with Tampere is always the parking space and those kind of things. We're not, enjoying the comfort of the, hockey center and stuff like that, infrastructural wise. Nokia is a unique place. I call this like the disc golf's Monaco, which is kind of the very city center, very different, shorter holes, tighter gaps, but it has kind of the historical meaning. So I'm pretty sure that every person at the city board, city board wants to keep the event. This is the biggest event of their city. And as a matter of fact, I'm taking the vice mayor of Tampere and more people to this year's Worlds, to basically a delegation to see how things are done in the US. And they also are very interested to learn and what they can actually bring next year's Worlds. So people here are taking this very seriously, but there is always a threat because the usage of land is so, it's a big question.
I wanted to ask as well about your decision to sell Discmania. This happened now a year ago or so to House of Discs. Obviously, you'd had a long-term partnership on the manufacturing side at that point with Latitude 64, and then they got acquired. They formed House of Discs. They're buying up all of these brands. Discmania was one of them. I honestly, I can't even remember if we've had you on since this. So forgive me if I'm asking a question again, but, especially now that we're a few months removed from it, what was the motivation to sell? And do you feel like you kind of got out at the right time when you think about like where the market was 18 months ago versus where it is now?
Well, it's a totally different market for sure. And I don't feel that I got out. I'm still here talking to you. And
sure,
I would say that the biggest motivation obviously comes inside. I've been doing this 20 plus years. And also, that was a pandemic time. Everything was crazy. I mean, it's not only crazy sales wise, but we were collaborating with the new factory with the Latitude guys, and the next day they are owned by this group of other investors. So from that day we actually became partners already. That's how I feel it, because of course then we shared the factory, and then it was just more like the question of how we're going to arrange this moving forward. I still feel that I have an influence, and I'm still here. I'm very active. I'm doing my job, but of course things has changed. Discmania is now part of something else. It's not the standalone thing. There are things that we have had to adjust. There are things that the House of Disc has had to adjust. And also we're doing all this in the time when the market is slowing down dramatically. So I would say that there are no disc golf manufacturers that are having better times today than they had 2021. So everybody needs to adjust. I feel that it was right decision to make at the time, and I still stand behind that. I feel that this is a speed bump that everybody basically got into, and we need to just get out of that and start building the future, whatever it is.
What is your role now with House of Discs?
I'm on the board, so board member is on the top level stuff. I'm the event director, so obviously getting the Worlds was one of my goals, long time goals. So I really want to put emphasis on that. So I would say I'm spending most of my time for these events and making sure that we can have the best possible Worlds. And of course, being as a board member and advisor on the background is another thing.
How would you assess the drop in demand in Europe right now?
I think the biggest drop came that the market overheated so much that, especially, for example, us, that we had a very comprehensive distribution. So let's say we had a multi-million-dollar customer who were very, let's say, they were very disappointed on us 21 and 22 because we were not able to deliver what they wanted. So we had to go all the way to their board to explain there is no more discs. And of course, they made a big estimations for 2022, which was the year that started slow down. So they kind of, many our wholesale customers overshot their estimations for 22, which meant that once they realized that, okay, oh gosh, we bought too many discs for this season, they didn't order a single disc nearly a year for us. So for us,
Wow.
It was like up and down. But I think that this year, for example, the market has rebounded in a ways that we're seeing better months this year, this summer, especially on the D2C compared to the last year. So we kind of got over that hump. That was, I think the worst year was last year in that matter, in many cases. And now we're kind of leveling up in a certain, that is a higher than pre-pandemic, but not obviously up there. And that's where we need to adjust now.
Yeah, interesting. Maybe we see growth in the second half of this year. All right. What else should we know about European Open? You got any other surprises in store this year?
Not really a surprise. I think that people should expect a very interesting event week because we're going to have a totally new course. So I'm expecting, especially on online viewers, DGN, which is this is part of the DGN Pro subscription. I think that is a great way to learn more about upcoming world courses. What comes to the competition, I just checked that we have, I think, close 90 players MPO, and I think there is 4 players under 1,000 rated. So this field is insane, like what comes to the quality. Also, the FPO field is 25 strong, and I think we have one player under 900 rated. And I just want to say that some people might feel that, oh, why only 25 FPO players? This is the second year we are having this qualification system similar to the USDGC. So we're giving out spots to 50-ish FPO players, but obviously not everybody is taking the spot. And this is an event that we don't give out wild cards. You need to qualify to enter, because I really believe in that way, that this is the way how major should work. We're having a very interesting Monday qualifier coming up. For example, Nate Sexton just signed in. So we have like 5 to 7 US players trying to qualify for the 5 spots. So it's going to be very interesting. You should look at that. And of course, President's Cup. It's always kind of a special case event. Seppo Paju and Paul Yulibari are now the captains. So it's a new experience for these people. And I'm expecting that, like I said, I hope that we're going to have more Finns on the top 10 leaderboard. I know that especially on the FPO side, that is more or less like the tradition now. But also that Evelina and Niklas, they have won tournaments in the US this year, which has never happened before on this level. And that's going to bring the crowds here. Finns are, we come to support our people and players. So I'm expecting a very, very exciting weekend here at the Nokia.
Well, we are pumped, excited to follow along with all of it, and I'm sad I won't be there in Nokia once again, but we'll be certainly following along from home. So always appreciate you giving us some of your time. Thank you, UC.
Thank you, Charlie and Josh, and keep up the good work.
Thanks. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back here on the Upshot. Welcome back to the Upshot. Great to have UC on as always. Josh, what stood out to you most from our discussion with UC this year?
I said it roughly pretty much verbatim to what I'm about to say on Tuesday. Professional disc golf is an entertainment product. And I don't care if the European Open... I shook my desk when I smacked my hand. I want the visual effect of the camera shaking. I don't care if the European Open is the only tournament that has a bunker rule. I don't care if every other TD in the world applies for the bunker rule and tries to cite the European Open as the reason why professional disc golf is different and the priorities of the PDGA should be different at the professional level. And I think this is a huge blunder on the PDGA's part. And it's an example of an area where they are prioritizing like this weird need of uniformity across the levels of the game. And I'm sorry, like, your traditional MPO is not a tour event. Your traditional FPO is not a tour event.
Here's the thing, right? If the PDGA sticks to this mantra, which I have to say, I do feel like they have not only often thought about the elite game, but they have explicitly now in the rules codified like specific elite and major stuff only. So that it's not like they're doing nothing to differentiate here. But if they stick to rigidity around these kinds of things, they are not going to have access to elite disc golf much anymore outside of their specific majors. Yep. Because, for instance, European Open could just be like, we're out. We're not doing PDGA thing anymore. We'll work directly with the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and we will run our own event. And then we'll see the PDGA. They'll run Worlds, and they'll run U.S. Women's, and that will be the extent of their influence on professional disc golf. That's the long run potential outcome here. And I agree with you 100%. I think, look. It's a 1 year thing. Maybe it won't be as bad as we think. I'm sure the hole will still be interesting. I just feel like this was a special hole that had this really cool feature, and we're getting rid of it for no real reason. And I think UC didn't want to say what he thought, if I'm being honest.
Well, when he said he's the hole designer, like
right.
that said everything I needed to hear from UC.
Yeah.
Here's my biggest problem with UC's wait and see attitude. It's the right attitude for him to take. I don't have to take that attitude because I don't have to work with the PDGA to run this event. So let me tell you what my problem is. If Anthony Barella knows, if anybody's out of position and knows that they just get to go to a drop zone, I don't care if if the leader is 4 strokes ahead and misses the island, and we go, oh, what could have been, right? Like that's the scenario that people would point to and be like, oh yeah, this was a poor rule change. I'm saying that through both rounds, players who are not in the position where they would normally go for the island with the bunker rule are going to go for it because there's a drop zone now.
100%.
And that is not
there's
something
not
that
a decision.
And exactly. And that's not something you can just look at and be like, well, in retrospect, we saw this many people take big numbers versus this many people. Same number of people took big numbers. Like, no, you can't just look at whole breakdown, like a scoring separation breakdown, because it fundamentally changes the way that people think about this hole. And I'm sorry, the way people thought about this hole was what made this hole great. UC's right. It's a wide open field. This should not be as interesting as it is. But because of the rule and the way that it gets in players' heads and forces them to make a decision, it was one of the best holes in the world, and it's not anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's so true. Like, if you're sitting, let's say you're where Barella was last year.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And, pick your player, whatever. Sure. Conservative player, aggressive player.
Yep.
There is no world in which you're going to say, I'll lay up and then go for it. Because you're guaranteeing to lose a stroke by laying up. And if you just go for it, you're going to have a putt to, what would that be, save par?
Yeah. Yep.
Like, even if you miss. So then why would you ever lay up?
Yep.
Because if you lay up, at best you're getting par. And if you go for it, at worst you're getting bogey.
And here's the thing. Players have laid up and missed the the second shot to the bunker. So now they're like but that was something you thought about because then in the bunker rule,
there is
you were
a
closer.
zero. It's a zero decision hole now.
Zero.
What decision? Okay, you're on the tee. If you go OB off the tee, you go to the first drop zone. So obviously you don't want to go OB off the tee.
Sure.
The only hypothetical thing that could make this hole interesting is if you move the tee pad enough that people could attack the green from the tee and go for a 2. I think it's basically impossible right now. It's just too far. It's not possible.
Yeah.
But like that would maybe be somewhat interesting.
Sure,
but instead it's like, okay, land safe.
Yeah.
Now, you still have the like, how aggressive do I want to be off the tee? So I guess that's slightly a decision. Most people were just sort of throwing to that fat part and then attacking the green. But once you're on over there is no decision to be made. No one's laying up.
Even the tee shot has less decision though, because prior, Anthony Barella like perfectly demonstrated what happens when you went for it out of position, right? If you didn't get aggressive off the tee, you risked being in a really bad position where hitting a second or third time is not likely. Whereas if you just throw your shot, like don't get too aggressive, make sure you stay in bounds, it doesn't matter. The 20 feet isn't a huge difference because you know you're going to advance.
Disaster.
Horrible change.
Honestly, disaster change.
Horrible change. I
don't need to see it played to know it's not going to be as good.
Here's what we need to do. The day after European Open is over, I want every single one of our listeners to email the PDGA for 2025 Worlds for them to approve that exemption again. And then I'm going to make this callback again next summer, before we get to Worlds, and I'm going to ask everyone to do the exact same thing again.
Yep. Because, like, the whole point is for it to be fun.
Yes.
And, like, it's okay to ask the pros to do something hard.
Yes.
They're pros. They're not 950 rated AMs. Ay. All right. We've made our point on this one, I think. But
I hope so.
It needs to be made. Let's talk about Krokhol Open. It's coming up this weekend. The big news, Kristen is back. She has been practicing. She's ready to go. As Josh mentioned, I think on Tuesday, she's been hosting clinics for the president of Estonia. Crazy. And we will see her in the field, where she will be the favorite, but I'm not sure by how much. I don't exactly know what to expect from Kristen at this point. This is the number 1 ranked course in UDisc's top courses in the world list at Krokhol. So we'll see if we feel the same way when we watch it on coverage, Josh. It's a pretty strong field, right? We have basically all the top Europeans plus the large majority of the American players who are coming over to play European Open, which is mostly the heavy hitters. So this is I think this and the week after, but probably even more this one, is going to be the strongest Elite Series European event of 2024. So winning this one really feels legit.
Yeah, it definitely does. In preparation, let's just give you a couple of those MPO players that you're going to be missing out on in case you're setting some fantasy lineups. Most notably, Calvin Heimberg did drop this event. We knew that was coming. I think there was some discussion about that last week before Des Moines, or on Tuesday. So Calvin is out of the field. Simon Lizotte is not playing. Chris Dickerson is not playing. The Robinson brothers are not playing. And then I don't see Eagles in there. Yeah, I think that's kind of your list of top MPO players. Cole Redolin is not playing. So after that, that's the entire first page of the PDGA statistics who are not playing over on the MPO side. Over on the FPO, you have Kristen, Ella, and Silva are your top players that are rounding out the field. You are notably missing the other top Finnish players. You do not have Evelina. You do not have Henna. So those two are a big note. After Page, Ella and Paige are the only American women that are playing in this event that are near the top of this like ratings. Anyone else is down like closer to 900. So those are your only two American women that you should be looking for.
So the course is going to unquestionably be beautiful. We've got elevation change, lots of water carries. It's a mixed layout, open and wooded. This is European disc golf at its absolute finest. And perhaps a bit of a feel for what we might see at Tampere. Last year, par on the MPO layout was 1007 rated. So perhaps a little bit easier based on UC's projections for par at Tampere. But I think a similar style of course. And so keep an eye on that. I think players who do well here, you might project to do well at Tampere. Obviously, the Beast is kind of its own thing. It's a little bit more in that USDGC vein of controlling where your landing zones are on a bigger, longer, more wide open course. And, I think you kind of need to look at past European Opens and perhaps USDGCs to get a feel for who's going to excel in those conditions. I want to note weather looks decent, but we could have some rain, and it should be a lot of fun. And we'll see. Like, people have been talking about Silva Saarinen. She's on this crazy hot streak in Europe, although she did just struggle at Finnish Nationals because of hole 18, basically. Does she compete with Kristen for the win here? Do you foresee a new discussion of a battle for the best in Europe, or are people getting a little ahead of themselves?
I think people are getting a little ahead of themselves. I think that disc golfers the disc golf community has a very, very short memory. Really enjoy the recency bias. And listen, Silva's been playing amazing. And the biggest thing, I think I said this on Tuesday, is like, Kristen is in a win-win here, because if she comes out and scorches the field, you're like, man, she is so set for Europe. And if she comes out and doesn't, then it's like, oh, her injury's still lingering. Hope she's better by next week, right? So that's kind of, I think she gets the opportunity to knock the rust off. And by coming back this week early, she kind of gives herself a week of just like a permission to not play her best. But we'll definitely be watching it, because it is going to set a tone for what we can expect going into European Open.
No question.
And whether or not we see her as a dominant favorite, or as if we see it as a little bit closer, more equal odds, similar to what we're going to be expecting on the MPO side.
I think the addition of Tampere makes everything a lot more interesting.
Yeah.
I think it decreases Kristen's advantage compared to having 4 rounds at the Beast.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? Why do you think that?
Because I think that other players are going to be able to keep up on that layout more effectively. Now, look, if Kristen putts lights out the whole week,
sure.
curtains.
Yes. I actually disagree, because I think Kristen's biggest competition is Evelina.
Okay.
And I think Evelina, and then, that's Evelina, and then you've got like Ella at the Beast, Ella and Henna, right? And Paige. Let's stick Paige's name in there. She deserves it. She's earned it. Can we talk about those players' finishes last year at this tournament? Sure, let's talk about their finishes.
Henna was 11 over.
Okay.
She was 22 shots back of Kristen.
Okay.
Evelina was 14 over, 25 shots back of Kristen.
Okay. I hear you. Okay. All right. Let me pull stats. If we're getting deep. This is welcome to European Preview Part 4. Krokhol's going to be great. We'll make picks in a minute.
I'm just giving you the facts.
I hear you. I hear you. But my big question, number one, like, I think we've seen a completely different Evelina.
Sure. Evelina has clearly been better this year.
Oh, I need to go to UDisc.
You do have to go to UDisc. It's so nice. Oh, just I'm literally on UDisc right now, basking in the beauty of the UI. Evelina was minus 4 strokes gained putting. Kristen was plus 10.7. But
where were they in
Kristen shot 6 shots better tee to green and went OB 4 fewer times.
Okay, so yes, but when I look, nobody competed with Kristen last year.
Yes, that's true.
But I don't know. I don't see why Kristen wouldn't be like just as, if not more successful at Tampere, where distance isn't going to be as big of an issue.
Yeah, I just feel like the more woodsy specialists have an opportunity. Like, think about the fact, right? Kristen is 0 for 2 on majors this year. What were those majors? Woods. I just think that the gap between her skill and other players' skill on tighter holes is not as pronounced.
Okay.
I think probably Kristen's greatest skill is forehand approach, and I think she's lethal on open airspace.
Okay.
And obviously it all comes down to how dialed in she is, because when she's locked in, I mean, she's going to crush you no matter what. But sure. I just think like players like Missy and many of the other European players, including Silva, are just a little bit more tuned. I mean, I would agree essentially with your concept of like, well, Evelina should be able to do awesome at the Beast, but the fact is that she didn't.
Yeah. And that's fair. I mean, that is fair. I think we see a different Evelina right now, and Paige wasn't there last year. And those two... Yeah.
Paige right? is for sure an interesting question mark. Yeah. But I just don't know if she's polished enough to win over 4 rounds.
And that's a fair question. It's a fair question.
Anyway, will you pick Kristen this weekend?
Well, I've got my picks ready to go, Charlie. Are we ready to do picks?
Let me get your FPO picks. Go.
All right. FPO picks first. In the 3 spot, I've got Ella. But you know what? Here it is. I don't know if I'm 100% right about this one. Ella goes in 3rd because she's playing well. Silva's in the 2, Kristen's in the 1. I want this to be the battle between the 2 Europeans that everyone is watching right now. I think Kristen's going to be back in form and is going to remind everybody that she really is 1,000 rated, and we are just in it's Kristen's world, and we're just living in it.
Okay.
So there you go. There's my FPO picks. Nice and easy.
I'm going number 3 spot, Hailey Lina. Number 2 spot, Kristen. Number 1 spot, Silva.
Think she's got the rust.
Give me the juice. Going into the major of Silva beating Kristen heads up.
Wow. All right. Why not?
Silva's red hot. Kristen's coming off 10 weeks off.
I hear you.
Yeah, whatever. Nonsense hole. So there it is.
All right.
I'm calling my shot. Prophecy's back. Let's go. MPO, who you got?
My 3 spot, I'm putting Ricky Wysocki. This one, to me, I think Ricky has an opportunity, and I don't know why. Like Paul is so associated with Europe because of his dominance at European Open, but when I think about these courses writ large, I really think Ricky could have a really nice European stretch. And I have a big bet riding on the fact he doesn't win a major. So I'm going to say maybe he wins an elite series and then podiums at the major and then does really well at the Estonian Disc Golf Festival, maybe even wins it. That's a very realistic stretch of golf for Ricky. And he's still playing well this year. He's been consistently good. And I just think he's got an opportunity here to get another podium. My 2 spot, I got James Proctor. James has been playing well in Europe. He loves Europe. And I think you've got a lot of players who are coming off of jet lag and travel to be playing in this event. And he has been over in the US and so, or in Europe, a little bit longer. And I think he's going to benefit from that. And we've just seen him play really well in Europe. Give me Nicholas, though, to bounce back after a crushing weekend at Finnish Nationals, because I think Nicholas is going to be in good form coming into the European Open and wants to remind us that with Tampere being added, he's a legitimate threat to taking down the major.
I just want to let you know, if I ever have a bad podcast, I can't get my words out. I'm not very clear. I'm just going to tell you it was jet lag. Could have been 6 weeks since I traveled. Jet lag. And I have a cold. So here's my picks. Number 3, I've got Gannon Burr.
No, he's got jet lag. Can't happen.
Oh, right. I got Gannon. Look, I don't know. He's a podium lock guy right now for me.
Fair.
Number 2, I got Rick. I completely agree with your assessment, by the way, of Ricky. I think it feels like a spot where he could really get going. I could see him winning the tournament, European Open, next week.
No, can't do it.
I know you can't, but I can. We'll see. I'm not officially making any picks yet. I got to see what happens this weekend first.
Okay.
You know where I'm going here, though, number 1?
Where are you going?
I want all the spice, Josh. Macbeth.
Oh.
Boom. Paul going to take it down. He almost won this last year.
Him
and Bradley Williams were head to head down the stretch, man. This is Paul's season.
I gotta say thank you for opening the door so that I can come back in points to make it interesting near the end of the season.
Stop. Stop. Paul Macbeth. Where's Paul Macbeth at right now? He finished second at Swedish, Josh.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
He's ready. This is his time. Why do you doubt? Every year, people doubt this man. This is exactly the spot he won last year. Literally. Not the same course, but the same spot on the tour. And he had been bad. He had been bad, and then he won, and it was like, here we go, major coming up, and then he got hurt.
One of these years, I'm going to be right. And so I'm just going to keep making the prediction until I am. And then I'll be like, yeah, look at me. Paul just didn't do it. I don't know if it'll be this year, but I'm going to keep doing it. And one year I'm going to be right.
Oh, my gosh. We'll see what happens. All right. It's going to be a lot of fun. Coverage begins sometime really early in the middle of the night here in the U.S. On Friday, tomorrow. So enjoy Krokhol, everybody. And we'll be back with you Tuesday next week. Well, first of all, we'll be back with you Sunday for Rapid Reacts.
Yep.
For Krokhol. And then we will be back with you on Tuesday on the main show for our full-fledged European Open preview, which, given how much previewing we've been doing, I don't know how long it's going to be, but we'll have many things to discuss. And then we're going to be doing daily Rapid Reacts throughout the European Open. So make sure you get yourself a subscription to listen to all of those. Join the Discord and have fun with us. It's so much fun. discgolf.ultraworld.com/subscribe. For Josh Mansfield, I'm Charlie Eisenhood saying so long, and we'll talk to you Tuesday right here on The Upshot.